Hi, this is Dave, Pell Running Guide. Welcome to this week's map reading task. We're in the Yorkshire Dales this week, so the question is, can you identify the two features that are highlighted? So that's this feature down here, this building, and also this landscape feature here. And can you work out precisely where the photo was taken from? This week we're using the Harvey's Superwalker 1 to 25,000 map for this task. So let's have a look at the photograph and see if we can work out what we are looking at. So as an overview, we're on high ground looking down onto a valley, a flat bottomed valley that rises gently on the other side. There may be a stream or a river in the bottom here. We can't see that, but it wouldn't be unusual to find a river running in these trees here. And it looks like there's possibly a road running along there because we have buildings here. And it looks like we've got a reasonable sized village here. So that's what we can see there. And then coming up on the right hand side, we've got ground rising, then some rocky ground, a bit of a plateau, more rocky ground, the feature that we're looking for there, another plateau. So this ground is going up almost like in steps. Then closer to the camera, you can just see, looks like maybe a well-established path or track here. And immediately in front of me, a steep drop. If I was to walk over to this bit of track here, I would go steeply down and steeply up in a short space. It's difficult to say whether there is a stream or water running down here, but there's certainly some kind of gully there. Okay, so first of all, let's see if we can identify this feature, this large barn here. So I've zoomed in to help with this. I don't think this part of the task is too difficult because we've got some distinctive wall features here, some field boundaries, and if we can find those, that would help. But this is the lowest part of the valley here along these trees, and there's probably a water feature running in there. Here we can see the road on the other side, and look here, we've got a very clear field corner just this side of the barn. The barn is quite close to the valley bottom, if there is a river in there, and this barn is closer to us than this building here, which is on the road. So we've got a building and then a stretch and then another building or group of buildings there. So can we identify that? Well, looking on the map, we can clearly see that we have a valley with a river in it, and here's a road. So the road was on the far side across the river from us, so we're looking from up here somewhere, looking down. These little black squares are buildings, so the closest one to the river is this one, and also we can see there we've got that distinctive wall corner, and then beyond it across the river was first building and a group of buildings. So that there is that large barn or cow house that we were looking at, so that's not too difficult. What about the second feature? So for this one, again, I've zoomed in. If we start down in the valley bottom, we can see we've got a very distinctive track running down towards the village in the distance, and we've got these field systems here. Then from that track, the ground comes up quite steeply, and then it hits this area, this band of rocky ground, which then swings away. We can't see it, but we can imagine that this rocky ground is facing down towards the village, and it goes up and it flattens off here. You can see this plateau, flatter ground, before it rises more steeply again. Another band of rocks, again we can imagine that swings round out of sight, facing down in the same direction, and then another flattening, and then the same again there. And then in our feature that we're looking for, we can see a very clear, distinct groove or gully or large entrant in there. We don't know if there's any water running through it, but we can imagine that as being a chunk out of the landscape coming down there. Other features to look for, we've got this track coming down, disappearing here. Another track coming down here, looks like it joins up with that one, and a wall coming up there. So can we see any of that? Okay, so I've orientated this map here to help us with this, because I've twisted it round so it more matches up with what we're looking at. So here, this area here is the village down there, so we're looking from over in this direction somewhere. We'll come to that in a moment, but if we can identify the village with the fields in it, so these fields here are these fields here, and this long black dashed line is a track. So that there is the track going along there. And then if we come to the right of the track as we look, the ground rises quite steeply up to this band of rock. So we're looking from the fields up the contours to the band of rock. And this part of the band of rock is just before, or just the other side of this wall that comes up there. So there we can see the wall that comes up to the band of rock, and that band of rock is away facing the village. Okay, so that line of rocks there is this line going round and out of sight there. And then here we can see we have this plateau, this flatter area above the first band of rocks. So that's this flatter area here before the next line of rocks. So I've moved the photo slightly, that flat area there. If we come back towards the camera, we can see we have this track going up towards our feature and then swinging right. So that is this track coming up here, just our side of this flatter area, and then swinging back right. And then here, look, we've got the next line of rocks going around, and our feature here with this chunk out of the middle, this gully coming down through it. So that there is that. See the kink in the contours there? So that there, that feature, that gully or entrant going up, is this one here going up here. We can see the second flattening there, which is this space between the contours there, and then another line of rocks. Well, that is that there. So that feature that we're looking for is that there. Now, what about the place where the photo was taken from? So we said we were on this track, or at least level with this track, looking across the head of a gully. So can we identify that? Well, first of all, we need to identify the track. We were on a similar height as our feature over in the distance, so can't really be on this track because this is going up a lot higher. So that puts us somewhere on this track. So whereabouts? Well, it looks like there's a little kink in the track here with a gully or re-entrant going down below it, but there we're actually slightly, we follow the contour along, slightly below our feature, which we identified as being there. And also let's go back to that barn that we've identified with the wall corner. So we can see, we can definitely see a gap. We're looking through a gap between the barn and the wall corner, and if we go in a straight line, we're close to, but not directly in line with that building there. So if we were here looking down, we wouldn't be able to see that corner. There'd be no gap between the barn and the wall corner. They'd be lined up. The corner would be hidden behind the barn, and also that building there would be quite a way off to the right. So it's not this corner here. So that means it's got to be further up the track, further northwestwards. So here we can see there's a little gully or re-entrant running down there, and an ever so slight kink in the path. So that was where the photo was taken from. There we can see more of a gap between barn and wall corner, and that other building is only slightly further to the right. So the answers this week were there and there. So hope you got that one right. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Look out for next week's map reading task. Bye for now.